What is going on in crypto, especially Solana? So you've stopped hearing your favorite crypto bro tell you about how much profits he's been making on Solana and all his other favorite altcoins, degen coins, whatever he's just throwing his money into. It's a dark day. It's a dark week. It's been dark since the ETF approval. And today I'm going to talk about Solana, where the price is going to head, and what the outcomes are going to be, and where a good buy zone could be. So if you like my channel, like and subscribe. It really helps me. I appreciate it a lot. But let's get into it. So Solana, right? We hit the new highs up here. Well, obviously this is in tandem with the ETF approval. So everything's just in keeping, right? We saw Bitcoin and Ethereum skyrocket due to the potential looming ETF approval. And just everything was on the up. But you need to remember that the people that were buying here were trying to buy the rumor, right? The ETF comes out, it doesn't pump anymore, everyone's just looking to sell. But I do think we're starting to run out of selling pressure. But if we just take a look at the Sol graph here on TradingView, we can see that this is the run up to the peak. This is the run up to the peak of the ETF approval. And then we've just seen new lows. Since then, obviously we're only dating back to like December. But if we draw our fib retracement, we can see that we've not actually come down anywhere near that 19th for December rally, but we are failing to hit or break through any of these fibs. So we are retracing quite a lot. So we've gone to the 0.38 here, and we tried to break through it a little bit, and then we just lost momentum, dropped to the next one. We also tried again. So we can see this is a good line to really go off, and now we've fallen again. Obviously, we've tried to break the 0.16 again. We tried to break the 0.18. We tried to break the 0.18, but we are still failing. So where is it going from here? And in my opinion, I think we're going a bit lower. I think we're probably going to retrace back down to somewhere here. There was a lot of support around here. We weren't really seeing much new highs. This is just sort of the momentum that was created out of the ETF approval. And I think here is a sort of good buy zone, but so I was just switching to the actual value. So I was just on the market cap, but we can see it again, like we've just hit this line, the 0.382, and then we just dropped into this 0.18 to the. So I was just switching to the actual value. So I was on the market cap chart, but we can see we hit this at 0, obviously, and then we dropped down to the 0.382. We tested this a few times, actually 3 times, which shows that we're not willing to break that quite yet. There's not enough buying. It makes sense, right? Like we obviously had this huge rally, and now we're seeing this pullback. It really does make sense. So if you are getting scared, then this is not the market for you. Just stay strong, and if you're holding, just keep holding. We're going to see something down to like around this area. I would say this is a definite buy zone. Obviously around here, I mean, I do think that we're going to keep seeing it pull back even more, but I would say this is a good area. And you asked, and does this mean that Sol isn't a good project? I mean, we're seeing the same across all of crypto, so there's nothing to say that Sol is obviously a bad bet, obviously pulling back a bit more because it has seen that huge rally. And I think a lot of this was just people sort of buying in anyhow. Like I do think a lot of this was just people buying in. Obviously, there was a lot more of a push for Sol, all of the news around it, but it is a great project. We're seeing so many projects move onto the Sol. We've seen Render move onto there because of the low transaction fees, the high throughput. So a lot of people believe in Sol, and it's getting much more adoption, and it's taking away that adoption from Ethereum. I think that's perhaps why we've seen Ethereum struggle, because any of that momentum, it's just kind of losing to Sol, because in a lot of ways in the application, Sol is actually a lot better than Ethereum in that respect. But obviously with the layer 2s, Ethereum is barely better, but as a layer 1, Sol just does a lot more and a lot better than Ethereum in my opinion. And we could also take a look at the total fees on Solana. So now this is really interesting. So we can see the run up. So obviously we've seen a massive skyrocket in the price around here, but the real price came in 19th of December. This is an American chart, it's difficult. So we can see the massive price rise here. Obviously fees are skyrocketed, but despite that, fees are actually keeping very high. So adoption's actually picking up nicely. So we're actually seeing a lot more people go onto the Solana chain, using the Solana chain and transacting on the Solana chain. So despite the price drops, these are just the people who bought the rumor and now trying to sell the news on the ETF approval, but we're actually still seeing more and more adoption of Solana. So I do think it still has a very good chance of going much higher. And I mean, it's pretty much almost guaranteed. So don't day trade these prices. These are very small and insignificant movements in the grand scheme of things. Obviously, we're down like, I don't know, 50. Obviously, we're down like 30% anyway, but I definitely think we're going to hit around this 73 level, and that would be your absolute buy zone. If we come down to here, obviously buy more. If you've got a little bit, I would just start averaging in as we drop down. So I was in a good position. I do think we've got a little bit more to go potentially before we actually can start to see some good opportunities for buying. But if you do have a bit of cash sitting around, it's probably in a good spot to start averaging in now. And yeah, so. But just coming back, I mean, like I say, we're also seeing the release of the Web3 Solana phone. And you can see here that they have the Play Store, so it's probably going to be running on Android. Obviously, they're not building their own operational system, but you've got this D App Store. And the first Solana phone was an absolute flop. But if you look at most models of phones, they were generally a flop at the first. I mean, they had made major improvements as things went and they collected more data. And I mean, in theory, there's not huge innovation. It's just as a crypto user, you can actually use all of your... As a crypto user, you can actually use all of your decentralized apps on the phone, which is super useful. And they're going to have a mobile-friendly interface, so you're not just going to be using the browsers. They're going to be tailored for you to actually use on your phone. Obviously, it'll be a lot quicker. And we've got pretty good system on here, so it's not a weak phone by any means. It's going to be a good usability of phone, but even if you just search new protocols built on Solana, you can just see so many new projects going onto here. So I think Render as well is going to be a huge one, because I mean, if you consider the AI boom, we're looking at companies like Nvidia or AMD to produce these chips, which they just can't produce fast enough. So the price of these chips are actually skyrocketing. If you look at the price of Nvidia stock, it's just massively overvalued right now, in my opinion. I mean, if we're looking at this, it's insane. The P ratio, I know you don't know much about stocks, but we're just absolutely insane. So there is just not much capabilities for these to provide the amount of processing power that the AI industry needs. So even Render being on Solana, we're going to see so much more transaction volumes on Solana. That means more people are going to be holding Solana and transacting on the chain. So these fees are just going to keep going higher. But when are we actually going to see the real booms in the crypto market? Now, I don't think it's going to be the halving event. I don't think that's going to do a lot, because a lot of the Bitcoin is already available. and it's just not really going to make a huge difference like it has in the past. But the real thing that's going to make the difference in crypto is when they drop the interest rates, right? We're going to go back to a looser monetary policy. Right now, we're in a very tightening cycle. So money's tight. People are just holding their money in 5% interest accounts. There is literally no point of taking it out. 5% risk-free is insane. Obviously, the average of the stock market's at 8%. So people are always going to allocate a small portion of their cash to 5 to 10% into high risk assets, which crypto is. So they're going to be looking to put some more into crypto. So we're not actually going to see those big rises until we get a big influx of cash from investors that are unlocking their capital. So, I mean, in terms of what to do now, if you're holding, just keep holding. Obviously, you've got the sentiment that you think it's going to go higher, and you're absolutely right. So just keep holding. And if you're looking to buy more, I would start averaging in, but I think that 70 to 75 is probably a very good buy zone. I don't think we're going to go lower than that. I would be very surprised unless something goes catastrophically wrong. But just keep looking, just keep holding, and I think it's a good time